Hey there everyone, and welcome back to Adam's Kitchen. So today we're going to be making a delicious sandwich called the tuna melt. Now what makes this so great is it's basically grilled cheese with tuna fish and caramelized onions. It sounds delicious just even thinking about it. So let's get started by assembling our ingredients, which are not many. So as you see, not too much to work with here. So let's start by taking an onion and preparing our caramelized onions. Now for me, I'm just making one sandwich, so I'm going to only use 1/4 of an onion. But if you're a big fan of onions and you like caramelized onions, then feel free to add more or less. So by taking 1/4 of the onion and just chop it up basically just into simple slices. And as you see, I'm using a cutting mat just so I don't have to do a lot of dishes, because who likes to do dishes? So just do simple julienne cuts. That being finished, we'll transfer these to a bowl and get started on the next step. Careful not to grab any of the skin of the onion like you just did, so I've got to grab that out. So this next is a trick that my wife taught me on how to remove oil and how to dispose of it easily without making a big mess. So you just take a plastic bag over a bowl, put some old newspaper inside, crack the tin of the tuna, and pour it into the bag. The newspaper will help to absorb the oil so it doesn't get all over the garbage can in case it gets punctured. But it's just an easy way to contain the mess and make things easy. See, there you go. Just throw it away. So using a fork, just flake out the tuna into the bowl. Next, we'll add some mayonnaise. And if you're trying to be more healthy, you can use less mayonnaise and use olive oil. A bit of salt and pepper. If you like a more spicy sandwich, you could use cayenne pepper instead of black pepper. And also it's optional as well, but you can also add a tablespoon of lemon juice to give it a little bit of a tartness. Let me zoom into this goodness so you can get a closer look. And as I said, there's the lemon juice that I mentioned, but you don't have to use it if you don't like lemon juice, if you don't want anything sour. Give that a good mix in. And that's looking pretty good. So next, let's get our bread ready, which is actually pretty simple to do. So I need 1 piece of bread, 2 pieces of bread, and just apply butter generously. Try to get as many nooks and crannies as possible. But what's important is that while you need a good coating of butter, it's important not to go with too much. Alright, after buttering both sides of the bread, or both pieces of the bread, let's add our pan. And in the pan, we're going to actually start by caramelizing the onions. We're doing this first because, one, we would like the onions to be a little bit cooled down when we add it to the sandwich. But also, we want to get the caramelized onion flavor into the pan, so when we cook the sandwich, the onion flavor will get into the bread as well. So just using about a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of olive oil in the pan, let that heat up a bit, and we'll add our onions. And we'll add our onions. There we go. So we're going to cook these over a medium-high heat, and it'll take about 5 minutes maybe to caramelize. Now in this recipe, I wouldn't really recommend it or use it, but I do know of some people adding a touch of sugar to their caramelized onions to make them a little bit more sweet. In this case, I'm not going to do it, but if I were to make, say, a sauce where I'd want it to be a little bit sweeter, I could do it that way. And added a good heaping of butter, 1 good tablespoon, and we'll just mix that in. Now, it's important when you add butter to a pan that you have some kind of oil in there first, otherwise the butter will turn brown. But if you start with a little bit of olive oil or vegetable oil, then you add the butter will last a little bit longer and it won't turn brown or burn. So as I said, that's going to take some time. Just keep cooking it down till it becomes soft. Even when you're finished cooking the onions and you set them aside, because they're so hot, they will continue to cook. So we don't have to go too long with these. Those are looking pretty much at the point where I want them to be. So I'll take them out and I'll set them aside to let them finish cooking on the side. So I wipe down the pan a little bit to get the excess oil out of there. And first I just lay down the slice of bread, again over medium heat. And I'll start to build the sandwich. I always put cheese on the bottom because I want the cheese to coat both sides of the tuna. It's going to be the glue that holds the sandwich together. Now you can use as much tuna as you like or as little as you like. If you're trying to make 2 sandwiches, maybe you can use 1 can for 2 sandwiches. Again, it comes down to how thick or how much meat you want to put on. For me, this is going to be a big part of my lunch, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Alright, now that's cooked down a little bit. Now I'm going to add the onions, which have cooled down, and as you can see, they've caramelized beautifully. Nice and soft. And now I'll start to finish up the sandwich by putting again more cheese. This cheese will help again to glue everything together. I'm going to spread it out as much as possible to make sure that the onions don't fall out. And then just put the top on and let it to cook down a little bit. Now it's been cooking for a couple minutes. I'm going to use the bread to kind of push together this melted cheese on the bottom to help hold it together while I flip it now. And there you go. Looks good. So again, let this cook for a few minutes, letting the cheese and everything kind of combine together. Now, if you're finding that it's still not melting, you can just reduce the heat and let it cook a little bit longer. Depending on how cold, what season you're doing this in, maybe you do need to give it a little bit more time to melt the cheese and hold it all together. But this looks pretty good, and it's been going for about 3 to 5 minutes now. So I think we're pretty much good to go. Let's check the other side. Yeah, it looking good. So let's use another cutting mat, that way we don't have to do a lot of dishes. Alright, so let's give it a cut. Oh, what? How does it sound? Oh, nice and crispy. Should have used a serrated knife for this one, but the dope I am, I just kept going with it, cutting through slowly. There we go. Salvaged it. That's good. Yeah, it looks great. You may not see it from this angle, but it is quite gooey. Let me pick it up and give it a better appearance. There we go. That's the gooiness we want. That cheese melting out. And there you have it. A tuna melt sandwich. And look what I did. I figured out how to get it to rotate without me walking around making all of you motion sick. Now I just need a motor to do it more consistently. And I give you a melty, gooey, delicious tuna melt. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you give this a try yourself, please let me know how it comes out in the comment section below. If you made any changes or alterations, also please share this with us in the comments below and how those came out. And as always, when cooking, try to keep it simple. Alright, that's it for this week. I'll see you next week. Enjoy!